Hello and welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're going to try and refurbish this rod that I managed to pick up at a Bootfair for £1. I was walking around, there was this telescopic, there it is there's the end, sitting up against a stall. They wanted a couple of quid, knocked them down, half price, got this rod for £1. Now there is issues with it, so there are issues with this rod, and we're going to try and repair it. Going to try and repair it a way in which everyone can do it. So let's just have a look at some of the issues with this rod. So before we go any further, we'll have a look at it. It's a Capellan from Decathlon, long range surf light 700. Now we'll start off from the base. The base looks pretty good. Now let's see if we can undo this cap, because this will have a screw cap because it's a telescopic rod, so it's for washing it out. There's a join there, so let's see if we can get this moving. That's tight. That's tight. Yes. Right, we've got that moving, so there we go. It's a bit gritty, but that's good. Doesn't need a new butt cap, so we can sort that out, not a problem. Needs a clean, very dirty in there. Let's get that back on. Then let's go up. So it's got a good grip here, just needs a good clean. We can clean that up. Wheel seat looks good, works fine, can't see a problem there. But this bit of rubber above the reel seat here is very cracked. That'll need taking off, so we're going to have to take that off and sort that out. That's one of the issues. And then as we come through to the end, you can see it looks like there's a section missing. But that is because we turn it up this way. There's a tip section. It's missing some guides, so I need to work out what guides I need. I'm probably going to have to get some sections of carbon to fit some more guides on here, and we'll take these off and we're going to redo it all. So let's start first by stripping these two guides off. So the first thing I want to do is remove these two guides that are existing on here, because we're going to replace with a nice new set of Fuji's. So this one here, it's got a buffer here, like a rubber ring that stops it getting damaged as the telescopic section hits. So let's cut that off. Got an old Stanley blade here, we'll just cut that off. That should go. There we go. And then if we can get under there, start flicking this up. Well, that is thick. Let's get this off. So now I've taken the two guides off, I'm going to have to sand these areas down, make them nice and smooth, but I don't want to go into the carbon blank. This is paint under here, so I'm going to carefully get a little bit more of that off and make these areas nice and smooth. I'm also going to take off the trim bands, this trim band here on the end section. I'm going to take off this one here by the reel seat and that dodgy bit of rubber, and this one underneath. So I'm going to cut them away now. So I haven't miraculously changed in the space of 5 minutes. It is a new day. coming back to this rod, the beauty of doing a job like this is that you can just pick it up, put it down when you've got 5 minutes spare. So as you saw in the last clip, I've taken all the trim bands off this rod and all the guides are now off this rod, but I'm going to just tidy these areas up here, and basically going to tidy these trim band areas off, because you're going to get a slight imprint of the thread on the blank, and you want to get these as smooth as you can for reapplying a guide and good adhesion onto the rod blank. And this here is some white paint, so we want to get this nice and smooth. Make sure there's again good adhesion when we put the new guides on and when we're going to glue them back on. So I'm going to just smooth these off. I've got some 400 grit, wet and dry, bowl of water. I'm just going to go over these areas now where there's some high build left. Try not to damage the blank. I don't want to be taking carbon off, I just want to be taking what's on top of that. So I'm going to start that now. So now I have sanded these down, these areas, these trim band areas all the way along, and I've sanded down where the guides came off, only roughly, and I'll show you why in a bit. But these are now sanded down. There's no lumps of high build on these. These are good to build on. What I'm going to do is take the end cap off here. It's quite gritty. I'm going to take the sections out like so. There's one section. There's the tip section. These are the two centre sections. I'm going to give these a good clean. Make sure there's no gritty bits on them. Wipe them down. Put it back together. So this is now all cleaned and back together. All the sections are back in here. There's no grit in the sections as you pull them up, and it's all rinsed through. The final clean will happen once it's built, and that's what I'm going to do now. Start building it. So what I've done is I've found some guides. I've obviously taken apart a lot of rods, and I've found some Fuji black nogs, BNOGs, that I'm going to put onto this blank. I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guides plus a tip, and this rod has got 4 sections, but only 3 of them, here, here and here, have tips for guides. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to cut some sections of carbon sleeves for these guides to fit to, so that they can slide down and fit in place and slide up and come loose. So what I've got is some offcuts of fishing rods. You can buy offcuts of broken rods online very cheap. You can get bundles of broken rods for a £5. You can go to a Bootfair and find old rods. You've probably got old rods that are snapped, that are no good, laying around. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work out where I want these guides to be. I'm then going to measure the diameter of this blank. So I'll be measuring the diameter, the outer diameter, and then measuring the inner diameter of some of the bits of carbon that I've got. They're inside, I'll show you in a minute. And trying to cut them to the right length to mount a guide on. And also to the right diameter to grip onto this blank. Let me show you what I've got. So this is what I've got, some old offcuts of rods. They don't match. This one's a green, got a green stain on it. This one's a black one, doesn't matter. They're going to be covered. You won't see any colours on these. These are just going to be sliding seats for my guides to sit on. I've got my calipers, so I can now start measuring diameters on this rod and then working out the internals on here, like so, to see whether they match up. So let's work that out now. So the first placement of a sleeve I want is around about here, which is measuring at about 11.1, 11.2. It measures 11.1. So that, if I cut a section of this long enough for the guide that I'm going to put in that place. This is the guide that's going to go on this sleeve. So basically I'm going to give it about 5mm at the front, about 5mm at the back. So I'm going to cut it where this T is. Right, there is my first sleeve. Let's see how this goes on the section. We want to get the taper of both carbons exactly the same. So I'm going to slide that on there. Slide that down. There we go. That's quite good actually. It's quite good placement on there. I'm happy with that. So that's my first sleeve. I'll have a guide here, guide on this sleeve, guide there, and then I need to get the tip section out, and I'm going to place 2 sleeves on here as well. Right, so in front of me here I've got the blank with the collars in place for the guides that are going to be movable or sliding on this telescopic rod. So I'm obviously going to have a fixed guide here, and then below that fixed guide, to stop any damage to the next section when the guide hits down, I'm sliding on, as you can see there, a rubber O-ring. So that rubber O-ring just fits the blank there, and that, once epoxied or high build in place, it will stop any damage when that section slides down to the next guide. So it will sit like this. Then got the next section where I've added a collar. I've cut that from a scrap piece of rod that slides to there. That's all been sanded down and cut neatly. We've then got an O-ring for that as well, which is here. We've then got an O-ring for the top section of that, where the guide will go, and I've got 2 collars here and here before the tip guide. So now I've shown you all the collars and where the guides are going to go, we come to the very, very controversial part of this build. Rod builders will be pulling their hair out now, because I'm not going to thread these on. This is only a very cheap rod from a Bootfair. I want to make it look nice, which I will do, but I don't want to spend the time doing it because it's just going to get used, and what I'm going to do is going to be good enough, and this will allow anyone at home to be able to do it themselves. I'm going to use tape. So I've got some pink duct tape, some holographic tape, I've also got some black tape, and I'm going to do some little designs with the tape on all of these to hold on the guides, and then we'll put the high build over the top, and I'll explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And as if by magic, I'm changed again. It's still the same day, but work has finished. I'm not wearing my work clothes anymore. Anyway, I have just gone over the rod and I have taped on some underwraps and trim bands. So these are the trim bands. It's going in pink because it's something different. So we've got a trim band there at the base, one below the reel seat, one above the reel seat where one came off, one above the grip, one at the top of the first section. Then we've got the underwrap for the first guide. We've then got the underwrap for the second guide. We've then got the underwrap for the third guide, fourth and fifth, like so. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm just going to take the angle at the end of the guide seat. Just going to take that angle off a little bit so it's a little bit shallower. I'm going to do that with all the guides, and then I'm going to start taping them on to the underwraps, ready for a top coat. So I'm getting here with this rod. All the underwraps are done, as you can see there. Look at all of those there. This is all with tape, and it is cheating. It's the cheating way of doing it, but it's good enough for what I want this rod for, because this was only a cheap rod from the Bootfair. Now I've done all of these. These are the trim bands here. I've left this one
because I did just think, I want to add a hook keeper to this. I'm going to add a hook keeper here. I haven't actually got any hook keepers. I haven't got any hook keepers made out of high tensile wire, but I've got a replacement that will match. Got a paper clip. And what I'm going to do with this paper clip, I'm going to use the large loop end. It ends here. I'm going to cut that there, opposite, like so. What I'm going to do is at about that point, bend that out, opposite it there, bend that out, like so, like that. I'm going to just cut that a little bit shorter, like so. That is going to be my hook keeper. I'm going to take that on now. I'll show you it when it's done. So here we have it there. We've got your DIY hook keeper. This one even matches with the Underwrap. It's in there, it's strong enough. That will hold a rig once you've got this on the rod, and you can carry it around all folded down with your rig clipped on. And it's pretty much as neat as I can get it. But there you can see, done. Hook keeper on there. Now what I'm going to do is start taping on the rod guides. I'm going to reverse the stripper guide. So the stripper guide is the first guide from the reel. I'm going to reverse it. You can only reverse guides if the guide is 90 degrees from the blank. You can't reverse guides like Fuji K guides. Doesn't work. They're specifically designed to work one way round. I've seen people reverse them and it's asking for trouble. But with the Fuji Black Nogs being OGs, they can be reversed, and by reversing it you've basically got the strength of the larger guide foot is the opposite way round, and it actually holds the guide better because of where the tension of the line goes through the guide. It works that little bit better when you're playing a big fish. You've got a lot of weight on the rod. So we're going to put that one reversed. The rest are going to go on normally. So let me show you that. So here we have it, the rod in front of me. All I've got left to do is a couple of steps, which I'll go through in a minute and show you, and then we'll see the finished product. But you can see everything's taped up from the butt, tape there, taped to either side of the reel seat. You can see that the DIY hook keeper there, just in place. And then I've got a tiny little GSP custom rod sticker. And then we've got all the guides on, all in place. The tip guide has been hot melted in place. So that's got hot melt, that's in place. And a little bit of tape to finish it off. And we're ready, nearly ready, to put high build on it and make it look a lot better. First thing I'm going to do though is put it into my rod turner and clean off all of these bits of tape where there's little bits of adhesive. They grab the grime and it looks a little bit mucky in places. So we're just going to wipe these off, and then it'll be finishing this off with top coat. Let's go and do that now, and then we'll have a lovely rod.
I've now moved inside to my still in construction mezzanine floor in my garage, where I keep my fishing gear. And on this, I have basically got a rod turner set up, as you can see there. There is my rod turner with the rod currently in it. Now, obviously, everybody hasn't got one of these, so if you haven't, a cardboard box like so, with 2 V notches cut out in line like that. It's good enough to hold your rod in, and when you apply the finish, you just have to be very, very on top of it with turning it every 30 seconds for the first 15 minutes, then every minute, and so on and so forth until it's cured enough that you can leave it there to dry. But it can be done. I used to do it that way. Now I've got a rod turner, might as well do it this way. So the first thing I'm doing, as this is a telescopic rod and it's too big for this rod turner because it's obviously 13 foot and this is only 6 foot, I am creating some wedges out of masking tape. I'm just folding the masking tape over a few times and I'm wedging it in between one section to another so I can basically clamp the sections together so they turn together without having the rod fully extended. And I can't tape the sections, so let me see if I can show you. Here I can't tape that section because I need to finish that off. So what I'm doing is just creating a wedge here that I can put in there and pull the section out until it's tight, like so. And then I'm going to clean every bit of taping I've done with a bit of meths, clean cloth, just wipe it all down, get rid of any adhesive that's on there, and then we're ready for finish. So now that everything's cleaned on the rod, I'm just measuring out equal parts of part A and part B of the finish, which is flex coat. This is what I use, flex coat, but any rod finish is a 2-part resin, and it's obviously called flex coat because it's flexible. I've had a rod built for me years and years and years ago before I did it myself, and after about 6-7 months all the coating was cracking and I couldn't work out why, and realised now that it was done in epoxy, which, I mean, if that's all you've got you can use, but it's not flexible and it will become brittle and snap, whereas this won't. So I'm just slowly turning the epoxy to mix it. I am not rigidly whisking it up because I'll get too many bubbles in it that way. So I'm just very slowly turning it back on itself. And I'll do this for about 5 minutes until it's gone from cloudy to clear. Flex coat mixed. It's now been tipped out onto a plate of foil because it extends the life of it, the working life. I'm now going to coat each section of this wraps, give it 2 coats, 24 hours in between each, and then we will see the finished product. And here we have it, the finished rod. Now I know that it has been done in a way in which rod turners will be absolutely livid with, but I've done it in a way in which anyone can give this a go, and it's quick and it's simple. If you want to change one guide, quickly tape it up, you can do that. It is not the best way, I am going to tell you that now. With thread, if you thread the guides on, once you put the high build on after that, it soaks through the threads and you get adhesion all the way through that bit of threading. With tape you don't get that, so I've had to put wider bands at the end gripping the whole section to the blank. But for a quick and easy fix, tape is adequate. It is fine, and as I can show you there, it does give you quite a good finish, a neat finish. So if you're not good with thread work on a rod, you want a neat finish, a bit of tape will give you that. Now, rod builders, if you're still not happy with this, you can click the thumbs down. But this video has been done to help out anyone who wants to be able to fix or repair a rod. So there we have it. You can see there all the sections move. There's the O-ring buffer that stops it there going through that section, that one there, that one there, that one there, that there, and so on and so forth. We got a hook keeper on here done, and all the trim bands done. All in all, this turned out to be a nice rod. I bought the rod for £1. The guides I had, but you can get a set of guides for 15 quid. 6 guides you'll be able to get for about 15 quid. And then I've just bought the tape and you've got the high build. So let's extend that and show you this rod extended. So here we have the rod fully extended in front of me. Let me see if, there we go. You can see the guides there, all in place. Look at that. Really good. Put a whole new lease of life into an otherwise redundant rod. This is a good rod for light bass work, float fishing, and these were about 50-60 quid when new, and that is with the cheap Decathlon guides, Capellan guides. Now it's got Fuji's. It's a really good rod. Anyway, I hope you have got something from this video. I hope that it has maybe inspired you to do your own repairs. I will add again, obviously thread is better. Thread is going to be better than tape, but if it's all you can do, it's better than nothing, and I've shown you that it can look good. Anyway, please subscribe, and until next time, tight lines.